Bonjour.
The summer is over, the heat waves are gone, but we are back.
Cool and relaxed.
Very relaxed. Welcome to a brand new season of So French, our fifth already.
Yeah, wow, 5 years. Incredible. The fifth year that we're doing this. Yeah, it is. Time flies. In this show, we bring you all about the twists and turns of French politics and an insight to all things French. Every 2 weeks, we select the best and most interesting whatever we see in French news stories. All brought you from, well, we have a new studio, Sarah, also in the heart of Paris.
It is all still in the heart of Paris, almost overlooking the Eiffel Tower.
There's just a big building standing in front of it. But
yeah, but you can imagine it.
Yeah, literally a stone's throw. My name is Stefan de Vries.
And my name is Sara Bertilsson.
And this week, there is a diplomatic fight between Brazil and France. It involves threats, trees, and first ladies.
And Air France and Airbus cleared over the death of 228 people in a flight from Rio de Janeiro to Paris in 2009. The victims' families are angry. We talked to one of their lawyers.
And also, are you bothered by this? Are you, Sarah?
Not quite.
No? Well, there are a couple of people who are annoyed by this rooster and other animals. A series of court cases against loud animals in different parts of France. They have made the headlines, and we'll talk about this at the end of the show.
But first, though, violence against women. This has been a major topic here in France this week, and unfortunately it is also a major issue and something that France has been struggling with for years and decades, and is actually it has a name. It's called femicide.
Yeah.
Women being killed by husbands, boyfriends, former husbands, former partners. And France actually has, well, only this year, I think we are at the 101 victims.
Yeah.
And last year was more than 120 women who died by violence from one of their partners or previous partners.
And of course, it has been going on for many years, but this summer it really made the headlines. And on average, every 3 days, a woman in this country dies because she's killed by her partner or ex-partner. So Emmanuel Macron decided to organize a national meeting, a national reunion about the question how to tackle this problem. Now, France is one of the European countries with the highest number of such murders. According to EU figures from 2017, France is only second to Germany. So it's a very serious matter. What has been decided this week, Sarah?
First of all, there will be a number of debates and discussions about how to tackle this issue, as you said. But already the government announced a series of measures that they will put in place already as of now. They're going to increase the number of places in shelters for women who are fleeing violent partners. They're also going to use the electronic tagging of men who are under restraining orders from judges. There will be, I think there's already, a trial, and they're already used, but they will be used in a much larger, much broader sense.
So how does that work?
Well, men who are under the order of a restriction order, they will have a tag, and when they approach the woman, an alarm goes off.
Okay, so that's a bit more protection for the women.
Exactly. They will also increase the training of first responders and police, who are often people who see these violence in first hand, and to teach them better how to recognize. And this is something that police themselves have admitted, that they don't have the training for it, and they don't know exactly how to deal with these situations. And it's also you have to admit that it's not the same kind of victim you have if there is a woman and the perpetrator is the husband, maybe the father of the children, etc. as if you have a victim of violence in the street or someone who people who don't know each other. So the way of proceeding and interrogating and talking to these, and also the way you take care of the victim is very different. So, and there has been a lack in training.
Yeah, and actually it was interesting that this week it was proven that police lacked training because President Macron, he visited the National Domestic Violence Hotline and he listened in to the calls in the helpline. He didn't talk at all. And then he heard in real time how a local police officer was refusing to help a woman in danger. Now, there was a lady, she went to the police, the gendarmerie, and she asked the police officer to accompany her to get some belongings, a bag, some money, so she could get away from her husband, her violent husband. And this police officer refused while Emmanuel Macron was listening.
Yeah, so she was calling this helpline while she was at the police station. Exactly. And Emmanuel Macron was listening directly and hearing how this, I mean, and this is something that social workers and these help organizations, they have been talking about this and you know, over and over again, saying that, you know, women are trying to flee or they're trying to tell their stories, but they're not being believed and they're not getting the help that they need. Yeah,
absolutely. And so what's the next step apart from these, a list of measures? Do you think it will really change something? Because as often is the case in France, if there's a problem, they will try to find new laws. But of course, there's the root of the problem. Is that being discussed? How to tackle the root of the problem? Because there's, of course, a violence.
Well, I think to begin with, to talk about the issue in these terms. It is femicides. It is violence against women. I think that to begin with is a really important step because it puts words on, it's not just any violence. It's a very particular type of violence. And that could also lead to a better understanding of the roots of the issue, which is how do we see women? What kind of, how do we educate young boys and young women and young girls? And what kind of, what are the stereotypes that we have about women and men, and how do we raise our children? So I think, yes, one thing, the vocabulary is important. And also it has been shown, and if you look at Spain, for example, who have since many years put in place a very big program to deal with femicides and violence against women, that it actually works. They have brought down the numbers of femicides to, I think they brought them down like by 40% in a couple of years, and they have much lower numbers than France has. So, of course, you can't say that this is the solution to everything, and in 5 years there will be no more femicides in France. I don't believe that. But of course, it's a bit a shame as well as what I've heard some organizations saying that it doesn't have any effect or it's just useless, a waste of time, because then you say that there is nothing that can be done. Mm-hmm. I mean, here we have at least a beginning to something that could, of course, be improved, be enlarged, get more money, because after all, it's a question of money as well. And the money that has been allocated, there are no big numbers, but it's a beginning. And at least, that will bring us forward. But if we keep saying that if you don't do everything at the same time, then better not do anything. So yeah. I think it's a beginning. Yeah. Now, speaking of women's rights and macho men, there is a growing diplomatic feud going on between France and Brazil. It all started in Biarritz during the G7 summit a couple of weeks ago. The host, French President Emmanuel Macron, expressed his anger about the devastating wildfires and forest fires in Brazil. The French president said that our house is on fire, and he blamed the Brazilian president Jair Bolsonaro for not doing enough against the wildfires and also having put in place policies that actually makes these fires even worse. Now, Bolsonaro, he replied that Macron and other Western leaders are just colonists and that the Amazon is not at all Emmanuel Macron's house, and that it's none of their business.
Yeah, absolutely. A staggering response. But then it became personal because while the wildfires were destroying large parts of the Amazon rainforest, Brazilian politicians were not looking to put the flames out. In a Facebook post, Bolsonaro said that Macron was probably jealous of his 37-year-old wife because Brigitte Macron, Emmanuel Macron's wife, was so old, so over 60. Not very classy, of course. And Brazilians responded with the hashtag Desculpa Brigitte, sorry Brigitte in Portuguese. Now, that's already pretty impolite in international relations, but that was just the start of the mud throwing.
Yeah, we can say it's impolite. It's also a bit quite childish.
It's very childish, yeah, but it got even worse.
It did, because another minister then went even further. Let's have a listen.
Macron, I'm sorry, Macron. Meu irmão, tá falando mal do meu país. O único fogo que tem é no coração dos brasileiros e do nosso presidente, seu palhaço. Vem aqui que tu vai tomar gogó nesse pescoço aí.
Now, that was Renzo Grassi. I'm not sure about my Portuguese. He's a minister of tourism and also a former free fight champion. And he said more or less, Macron, you're a clown. Come here and we'll twist your neck, your little chicken neck. I am not afraid of you. Now, this is very mature language.
Yeah, very mature. And these are not kids in the school.
These are ministers.
Yeah.
And it gets even weirder because last remark about twisting Macron's neck got the attention of somebody, Stéphane, we have talked a lot about last year.
Yeah, a pretty violent person as well. Alexandre Benalla. Here he is again, if you remember his name, Macron's former bodyguard, and of course at the heart of a big scandal last year. We talked a lot about him here on So French last year. And he reacted to this Brazilian minister in a tweet. Benalla said, "You're a jerk," in English. "Are you in for an octagon in Paris?" And an octagon is the ring where free fighters battle. So basically, Macron's former bodyguard is inviting the Brazilian minister to come and have a fight in Paris. It's really...
Well,
very subtle.
This would have been enough if it all would have ended here, right? But this Thursday, the Minister of Economy, the Brazilian Minister of Economy, said about Macron's wife, Brigitte, that woman is really ugly,
Incredible.
end of quote.
Yeah.
And he did apologize a couple of hours later. But I could say maybe that the relations between the two countries are at their... worse?
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. And actually, we must give him credit. Macron stays very diplomatic. He has just said that the remarks of Bolsonaro and his ministers were just sad, and he hoped that the Brazilians would soon have a president who would be more dignified. So he's basically saying that Bolsonaro, well, he will not be unhappy when he leaves, but he stays pretty calm. He keeps his head cool, but I don't think the Macron family will take a holiday in Brazil anytime soon.
Vous écoutez So French.
You are listening to So French.
Now, after the Air France flight AF447 plunged into the Atlantic during a storm on June the 1st, 2009, after it took 2 years to find the wreckage of the Airbus A330, it was eventually located by remote-controlled submarines at 3,900 meters depth.
Yeah, 2 years it took to find the aircraft. Incredible, yeah, and so that was a relief for the family. But then the legal battle started. Of course, people wanted to find the reason, the cause for this crash. It was later determined that it was the plane's, the so-called pitot tubes. They enable pilots to monitor the speed of the aircraft, and those tubes had malfunctioned. And when the alarms went off, the pilots, they reacted incorrectly when the plane stalled after the sensors froze over, and then finally they dove into the sea, and all 228 people on board, they died. Now, what happened this week is that prosecutors, they initially argued that Air France has acted with negligence for failing to train its pilots on how to react in such emergencies. But the manslaughter charges brought against both Airbus, the builder of the airplane, and Air France, they will be dropped. That's what the investigating judges concluded this week.
Now, of course, this was not a decision appreciated by the victims' families. We talked to one of the lawyers of the victims' families, and here is what he had to say.
Pour les familles, c'est une vraie sidération, une vraie colère. Après ce choc, puisque ça fait 10 ans, plus de 10 ans maintenant, avec une procédure très longue, très complexe, de nombreux recours, que l'on puisse en arriver là. Certaines familles vont même très loin. Elles s'interrogent pour savoir si, compte tenu du poids économique des opérateurs, à savoir Air France et Airbus, on n'a pas privilégié des intérêts économiques au détriment des familles.
Yeah, there was a lawyer, Olivier Maurice, and he said that, of course, the families, victims were appalled, very angry as well. And he also said that some families thought that maybe economical interests were more important than legal interests because the French state is also the shareholder of Airbus and Air France, so they were suggesting that there may be some corruption, but of course these are very difficult allegations to prove. But it does show how desperate the families are, that even 10 years after the crash, they still haven't found any justice, and indeed it must be very complicated, very hard to live this kind of drama, and now hearing that there will be no court case. Of course, the lawyer and the victims, the family victims, they appealed. So I think we will know more about that in the next couple of months, and then we will talk about it again here on So French. And finally, now, Sarah, this is the sound of victory. That was Maurice, the rooster. He became an instant famous hero here in France this week. He makes a lot of noise because he's a rooster. That's what roosters do. But he has won the right to keep on crowing in his backyard each morning on the island of Oléron in France. What's the story here, Sarah?
This is amazing because, as we all know, rooster is also the symbol of France.
Yeah.
So, of course, Maurice, who has made headlines all over the world because, or thanks to, I don't know how to say it, this court case, it's quite incredible. Well, it isn't Maurice who actually, I mean, he was never taken to court. It was his owner, we must say, who was taken to court by the neighbors. They are all living on the very beautiful, picturesque island of Oléron here in France. It's on the west coast of the country. And they accuse this bird of causing unnecessary noise pollution.
Yeah, and these people, they came from the city, right? They went to live on this small island, and then suddenly they realized there was a lot of noise. But a court this week decided that the cockerel's owner, Corinne Fessot, will be able to keep the rooster, that the rooster can continue making a lot of noise. And he also ordered the neighbors to pay €1,000 in damages to Miss Fessot for reputational harm, plus the costs of this court case.
The reputational harm, yeah. Is that for the owner or for Maurice? That his singing Maurice has been dragged in the mud.
Yes, but the owner, she said, she's a good sport. She said, well, I will donate these €1,000 to good causes here on the island. So the neighbors lost, but at least their money will help some people on the island. But Maurice is not unique.
No,
right?
No, absolutely not. And the latest case to ruffle feathers here in France, it pits a woman rearing around 50 ducks and geese in her back garden in the southwestern Landes region. And this must be said, Landes is known worldwide for its duck breeding, and we all know the foie gras comes from here. And against her are some newcomer neighbors.
Yeah, so this is the story of Dominique. She's 67 in the town of Souston, about 60 kilometers north of Biarritz on the Atlantic shore. She said the row began a little over a year ago when the new neighbors moved into the house across the road. With the previous owners, she said, I never had any problem. And then the couple arrived and my poultry bothers him. Now,
this case hasn't gone to court quite yet.
Not yet.
It will come up in a couple of months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then there was another case in the Alps on the other side of the country where residents of a village complained about annoying cowbells. And another effort last year to push out the world famous cicades from a southern town, you know, the little
crickets?
Yeah, the crickets that make this typical noise in the summer, you know, that
the
you know
typical southern France sound.
I agree. It's a bit irritating, but if they wouldn't be there, you know, it's not the south of France. You know, it's summer. They just belong to summer holidays. But there are more noisy animals. In the southwest of France, there is a village where there are croaking frogs, cooing pigeons, and other noises. And this mayor of the village in the southwest of France, he has asked the government to inscribe these sounds on France's heritage list, making them eligible for state protection, because, of course, these sounds are just part of the countryside. And it's crazy,
interesting because it's a way of how it pits really the life in the countryside against maybe the expectations we have today about living in the countryside. We have this Instagram image of things, but Instagram comes without sound.
Yeah, everything should be perfect or look perfect.
Exactly, and we're not actually prepared to live with the reality of sounds and smells and anything you can imagine in the countryside. So probably a story that will continue unless we all get a little bit more tolerant against both neighbors and nature.
Yeah, but for now, authenticity has been saved by Maurice, the rooster, the proud rooster. He can continue making noise as much as he likes.
Cocorico.
Cocorico. Well, that wraps up this edition of So French. We hope you have enjoyed it. You can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and YouTube. And we're also on Instagram, perfect Instagram, with sound. We can put on some sound. Our account is @SoFrenchNews, so please follow us.
And if you like French music, check out our free playlist on Spotify, which we update regularly. Just search for So French Music or click the link on our website. And if you want to contact us, please mail us on news@sofrench.news.
And you can also listen to us on air on World Radio Paris, the station with a lot of excellent shows in English, not only in the Paris region, but also at the Côte d'Azur around Monaco, Nice and Cannes. So French is broadcast on Saturday at 2:30 p.m. local time and then rerun during the week.
We will be back in 2 weeks with a new episode of So French.
We hope you'll join us then. Thanks for listening.
Au revoir.